In this video, we are going to talk about permutations. On this concept summary, we have a summary of permutations and combinations. I'm going to talk a little bit about combinations, but those are going to be problems for the next video. Mainly for this video, we are going to focus on permutations. So permutations are used when you need an arrangement of items in which the order of items is important. So we need to underline that, take note of that. Permutation is where order is important. We have symbolization here. NPR is going to stand for permutations, where N stands for the number of items arranged R at a time. So say you had 10 items arranged 5 at a time. Then we have the formula, which is NPR equals, and then N factorial. So that exclamation point in math, that stands for factorial. So N factorial over N minus R factorial. Note that you're going to subtract N minus R before you take the factorial. R will always be less than or equal to N. And both of those numbers, N and R, have to be greater than or equal to 0. So we're working with positive numbers here. Then we have, let's say we are taking the number of permutations of 6 items taken 3 at a time. You're going to use the formula, and it's going to be 6 factorial over 6 minus 3, which is 3 factorial. Factorials are found by taking the number, as you see 3 factorial here, and you're going to take 3 times the next number on the number lines, and we're always going in decreasing order. So it's going to be 3 times 2 times 1. We're never going to actually go all the way to 0. We always stop at 1. So let's say you had 4 factorial. You would start at 4, and then you'd have times 3 times 2 times 1. 0 factorial is something that you will need to remember. 0 factorial is equal to 1. So that's something you have to memorize. Combinations. The only thing I'm going to talk about here is the difference between permutations and combinations. Combinations is an arrangement of items in which the order is not important. So permutations, order is important. Combinations, order is not important. So if we look at this first example here, we have Gabriella is making a playlist with her 3 favorite songs. How many possible orders are there for the songs? So the fact that we're talking about a certain order, and that means that we are going to use permutation. And remember, the formula is N P R is equal to N factorial over N minus R. Close off the parentheses and then factorial. So if we look at this, she has 3 songs total. We're going to use permutations, and we can arrange this in any given way. So there's 3 items that we're taking from those 5 total items. And it's equal to 3 factorial over 3 minus 3 factorial, because N is equal to 3 and R is equal to 3. So subbing into that formula, we get that. And then we're going to simplify. 3 factorial is equal to 3. And then we're going in decreasing order all the way to 1. So 3 times 2 times 1. 3 minus 3 is 0 factorial. Remember that 0 factorial is 1. And then the 3 times 2 times 1, we can simplify. That equals 6. And then we have 6. So there are 6 possible orders for the different songs that she has. Now let's suppose she wants to make another playlist with 5 of her favorite artists, and there's 8 of their most popular songs. How many different playlists are possible? So we have 8 different songs, but there are 5 different artists. So it's going to be 8 permutations 5. So we have 8 factorial over 8 minus 5, close the parentheses, factorial. Simplifying that, we have 8 factorial over 3 factorial. Make sure you have the parentheses around 8 minus 5, and then take the factorial. So here's what we get. We get 8 times 7 times 6 times 5. We go all the way down to 1. Over 3 factorial, so we have 3 times 2 times 1. We do need to simplify this. And we have a fraction where we have the same number in the numerator and the same number in the denominator. So these will be canceled out. Then all you're left with here is 8 times 7 times 6 times 5, which gives us 6,720. So there are 6,720 different possible playlists that she can make. Let's talk about a couple more examples. So how many playlists are there for each situation? Gabriella's favorite or 4 favorite songs. So that means that she has 4 songs. We're choosing all 4 of them, and we symbolize it 4p4, which gives us 4 factorial over 4 minus 4 factorial. That equals 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. We know that the denominator, that this is equal to 1. We know that from up above. We know that because 3 minus 3 factorial is equal to 1. So we can use that here. And if we simplify 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, we get an answer of 24. There are 24 different possible playlists. Well, now what if we want to choose 5 out of the 10 most popular songs? Order matters still, so we're still dealing with permutations. We have 10 popular songs, and we only want 5 of them. So that's going to equal 10 factorial over 10 minus 5 factorial, which gives us 10 factorial over 5 factorial equals, and then we can write all of these out. 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6. And you could keep going. Times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. But we also know that 5 factorial is in the denominator here. So that means in the denominator, we have 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which means that those go away. We don't have those because they canceled each other out. So if you catch on to that pattern, you don't have to write out the full fraction. We can just take up to the point where we're going to no longer have canceled terms. So 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 is equal to 30,240. Now let's suppose we needed to find that on the calculator, because there is a way to find permutations on the calculator, but it's nice to know how to do it by hand, just in case you need the formula down the road, just in case we need to show it by hand someday. But either way, there is a way to solve it on your calculator. So I'm gonna go through that now, and we're gonna do 10 permutations 5. Right, so we're going to type that into our calculator. Get your graphing calculators out right now. You can also use a scientific calculator. It just will look different. Okay, so we have our blank calculator screen here, and we are going to go over, well, first we're going to type in 10. And then we want to go to math. We have all these different headings. Click the right arrow so that we go over to probability. We are working with probability. And then if you look at that, you see NPR. That's our formula for permutations. So then hit enter. You should have a subscript of 10, and then P, and then we're choosing 5, not 55, 5. All right, so we're choosing 5, and then hit enter. And we should get the same answer that we did before, which is 30,240. So you can use your calculators, although I would be familiar with doing permutations by hand as well. Sometimes it's easier than typing it into the calculator. So now you can try some of those on your own.